Nintendo On. This was a fake video advertising a Nintendo product that never actually existed. This was a common thing in the 2000s, and when you realize that the video was being passed around between 2005 and 2006, it makes a lot of sense. There were a lot of these photoshopped mock-ups of fake tech and video game products designed to trick people at the time, or even just show a proof of concept. Production problems forced the creator to rush the video, meaning that the final video was just a fraction of the original planned length of 30 minutes. The rushed version of the video can still be found, but the full-length version is most likely lost permanently.
The best part of my business is working with my family. The worst part of my business is working with my family.
Pawn Stars Sizzle Reel. Everyone knows Pawn Stars, the hilariously staged History Channel show where people try to come in and sell their historically significant items to Rick Harrison, his father, his son, or Chumlee. In 2008, leading a bit to 2009, to pitch the idea of the show to executives, a sizzle reel was made. It was filmed over the span of one weekend and took about 2 weeks to edit together. Obviously, the sizzle reel got picked up for a pilot and later a full series, and the rest was history. No pun intended.
Are you sure about that?
Of the 7-minute sizzle reel, only about 3 minutes are available, uploaded by the production company themselves. So it's very likely they have the full 7 minutes, though it's unknown why they didn't upload the full thing. Gotham High. This was a planned DC animated series about Bruce Wayne attending the titular school as a teenager. The concept takes liberties with the idea that Bruce Wayne only encountered these classic Batman villains and friends in his adulthood, with many of those classic characters being present in Gotham High. The series was based on the concept from one drawing of a young Joker and Harley Quinn by the creator Jeffrey Thomas. The show never materialized for unknown reasons, though it's speculated that the similarities to shows like Teen Titans and the creation of Young Justice not long after Gotham High's inception were factors to why it was never produced. Very little production material survives today, and it's unknown how much of it ever existed. Though a graphic novel called Gotham High did release in 2020, which is believed to use a lot of the same elements as the planned TV series. Human Wreckage. It's estimated that anywhere from 75 to 90% of all silent films ever created are lost, depending on who you talk to. Human Wreckage is a part of that statistic. The film was designed to show the dangers of drug use, meaning it's one of the, if not the, first drug PSA ever made. The movie is about an attorney that defends a drug addict who robbed a store, only for that attorney to become addicted to prescription narcotics and his journey out of that addiction. The 80-minute film was allowed in the US because its drug references were Hays Code compliant, though the film was banned in Britain, and today only a few screenshots survive.
Then, Nickelodeon brings you Video Comics. Characters come to life in a format that encourages children to read along.
Video Comics. In the early years of Nickelodeon, a lot of its programming was acquired programming, mainly from Canada. You Can't Do That on Television is one example of this. Video Comics was one of the first shows on Nickelodeon to be originally produced. Much like Cinematheque on G4 later on, Video Comics was essentially that, just with comics instead of video games. Basically just being a reading of comics on TV. Only DC comics were featured, as Nickelodeon at the time had the rights to them via Warner. There were 12 episodes of Video Comics, only 3 of which were accounted for in their entirety. A 25-second clip of episode 4 is also uploaded to YouTube. The rest of the show is lost. Snap Judgment. During the height of Gene Rayburn's career on the 60s incarnation of Match Game, there was Snap Judgment, which also had a similar concept and gameplay to the 60s version of Match Game. Gene Rayburn, in fact, was often a guest host on Snap Judgment, though Ed McMahon was the main host. Snap Judgment was a word association game with teams of one contestant and one celebrity. Correct guesses were worth $10, though the other team could steal if your team was wrong. The game later shifted to being a password clone, as if it wasn't enough of one already. Very few materials from this show have survived. No full episodes are available, and no video footage is available. Only some snippets from the audio and a few production stills are surviving. Donkey Kong Racing. In 2002, a game was planned for Nintendo's GameCube system. This game would have been the successor to the popular Diddy Kong Racing from 1997. The various environments of the game would have been combined into one overworld rather than being isolated, but perhaps the biggest difference from Donkey Kong Racing to Diddy Kong Racing, and the racing genre in general, is that the characters would ride on the backs of animals instead of the normal vehicles like players saw in Diddy Kong Racing. The only time materials from the game were ever shown publicly was at E3 2001, and not long after this, Rare, the developer, was declined in acquisition by Nintendo, and was later bought by Microsoft. The Donkey Kong IP was scrubbed from the project for this reason, but development continued under the name Saberman Stampede, which was also cancelled. No playable builds from either version are available, and only a small amount of production materials have leaked. Drawn Together Pilot. Drawn Together was an animated series that aired in the mid-2000s on Comedy Central. It is, by many, considered to be the first animated reality TV series, making it a pioneer of a subgenre that includes, one other show? But anyway, there exists a pitch pilot to Drawn Together that has eluded any kind of public release. The animation quality is noticeably not as good as the final show, and the designs of some of the characters are completely different, such as Ling Ling being a different color, and Xander's hair and clothing designs being changed in the final version. That pilot wasn't included in any home media releases, and the only clip of the pilot that's surfaced is 7 seconds long.
Hey, what's that, HH?
My ticket to must-see 3D at HH Gregg.
Then you gotta see the Panasonic Viera 3D TV. Whoa! It's not only an amazing 3D experience, it's one of the best 2D TVs ever tested. Even without the glasses, the Panasonic Viera is a whole new world of TV realism.
What could be better?
VieraCast Internet TV?
Candy?
No thanks.
HH Gregg ads. HH Gregg is an appliance and electronics chain, although I'm not sure there are many stores around anymore. The one in my town closed down. But when they were at their peak, their main ad campaign utilized a character called HH, which was a newspaper with a smiley face and floating limbs. This character looks like he's supposed to mimic those Kmart light bulbs, which could explain why they closed a lot of stores. After all, if you're trying to gain success, imitating Kmart is probably not a good idea. The ads featuring this character usually involve the clueless customer not knowing something and asking if they should know, to which HH responds, "No, we are." The use of the HH character was in phases, with different commercials every few months advertising whatever new product was featured at HH Gregg locations. But the HH character was only used from 2009 to 2011. There are still a few ads that are lost but are believed to exist, but it's possible that some of the lost ads are just undiscovered and not accounted for. All That. By now, I'm sure you've heard of the iconic Nickelodeon sketch show All That, and for those that haven't, it was basically Saturday Night Live for kids, right down to both shows featuring Kenan Thompson for a considerable length of time. The home media releases for this show were basically non-existent due to copyright issues with musical guests featured. These issues even prevented full episodes from airing in reruns many years after the original airing, with the musical segments being cut out. This show also has a messy history of airing in reruns, with incomplete episodes often being aired and some seasons only having certain episodes aired. It's been almost 2 decades since the first season aired, for example. While some episodes have been recovered via recordings, the entire ordeal is very tough to keep track of. While most of the show is intact, a large chunk of episodes are missing certain segments or just lost entirely.